Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Completionist. For this episode, guys, I'm going to do another episode of my personal struggles as a video game completionist. So this is a fairly brand new series to my channel, guys, and even though, you know, the main purpose of this channel is to show people how to complete video games to 100%. Just due to you know, me working away from home, and you know, sometimes some of the games I play are huge time sinks. You know, I don't always have the opportunity, you know, to do that, especially when my favorite gaming genre is the RPG genre. So sometimes it's really hard, you know, to get the game footage to actually get a how to complete video. But they are videos I still intend on doing. It just takes a lot of time to do them, and you know, also I have a lot of responsibilities, you know, as a husband and things along those lines, so I don't always have as much free time as what I would like to have, especially when I have other responsibilities. So so with this series is one of the things I like to do is I like to share some of my personal stories and some of my personal struggles when it comes to completing video games to 100%, and it's often involves a lot of pain, a lot of frustration, with a few moments of hilarity as well. So if you've caught any of the earlier episodes of this series, you know, I've talked about Lunar, the Silver Star story, and Donkey Kong Country 2. But the game that I want to talk to you about is a game that I really thought was going to be very simple to complete. I had completed this game back in 2011. On the advice of my best friend, who I feel like killing, especially after I got the opportunity to complete it. And he said, and he wanted me and him to play something at the same time, just to see, you know, how fast we could get it completed, or you know, how far we were going to get in it. And I told him, sure. You know, back in early 2011, you know, I wasn't working at that time. And I was open to playing anything, so my friend told me, well, the game that I want you to play, because I'm playing it right now, is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And I'm sure just by the sheer fact that I'm even mentioning this title, people are going to figure out pretty fucking quickly why this game gave me so much frustration. Now, with regards to the Kingdom Hearts series, I have a little bit of experience in the Kingdom Hearts series. I've only ever completed one other game in the Kingdom Hearts series, and I've beaten one other game as well. Now, the games in the Kingdom Hearts series that I have beaten is Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance, and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And I know there's a shit ton of other titles in the series. I just haven't got around to playing it yet. But the games that I have completed and retired for the Kingdom Hearts series is Birth by Sleep and Chain of Memories. I almost have Kingdom Hearts 1 completed. It's just this one little fucking side quest that's just pissing me off with regards to just getting the last item I need in the game, which is something that you get an item if you bounce an enemy up in the air. You know, this certain enemy in the final dungeon, you know, you gotta bounce them, I think, 15, 20, 25 times, something like that. And that's the last thing I need to do. If I can do that in Kingdom Hearts 1, then that's it, I'm finished with that game. So, going back to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, like I said, you know, my best friend had recommended me to play this game, you know, at the same time he did. And with regards to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, you know, I was getting through the game fairly well. You know, it wasn't really giving me much in the way of difficulty. You know, in order to complete Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is, you know, you do have to play the game technically 3 times, you know, one time for each of the characters, and pretty much get everything in each character's playthrough. And with regards to, you know, getting through the main game, you know, it was fairly simple. There were no issues. I never really had any issues. I was actually quite enjoying it. I was actually enjoying, you know, the sticker mini game and grabbing all the items, and it was pretty easy to find everything in the game because, you know, there were item checklists, there were treasure chest checklists. You knew how many treasures were going to be in each world, and you know what exactly that you needed to grab. And I did my proper research into the game. And I was getting through all of the levels. You know, you couldn't really get everything at once. You know, you see that you needed certain moves from some of your characters, and then you would eventually go back to those worlds and, you know, get the rest of the remaining items that you need. And I was actually really enjoying the game. You know, for the most part. You know, I went through the game relatively problem free. You know, I barely died. You know, there wasn't I wasn't having any major issues with the game. And I think the first time I actually got killed in the game is I decided to do Terra's playthrough first. And when I had to fight the final boss of the Terra playthrough, which was, I think, when Xehanort and Terra combined, and I guess you, as the Terra armor, you know, you had to fight him. I had a bit of difficulty with that fight because I wasn't used to all of the controls and the moves I could use against him. So I remember, you know, dying a few times in that fight, but, you know, I eventually got through it, and then I played Ventus's playthrough, and then I played Aqua's playthrough, you know, without much problems. But then when it came to the post-game content, and then I started to discover, you know, some of the extra things that I needed to do in order to complete this game to 100%. That's when the nightmare began. Especially in the form of the fucking extra bosses you fought in this game. Because one of the things you need to know when it comes to completing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is that you can't play the game on normal mode. You have to play the game on Pride mode, which is, I think, the second hardest difficulty, because there's a trophy in the game that you can only unlock, you know, if you beat the entire game, all 3 playthroughs, and the epilogue on Pride mode. And once you do that, then you actually unlock that that trophy. And I had to. And Pride mode is pretty much the second hardest difficulty in the game. But throughout the majority of the game, even playing it on Pride mode, it didn't really give me that much trouble. And, you know, I got through all 3 playthroughs, you know, pretty easily. And then I had to search up how to get all the different Keyblades. And, you know, the game does a good job of, you know, teaching you all the specific moves that you need to know, and things along those lines. But when I got into the post-game content, and I had to fight bosses like Vanitas' Lingering Spirit, and the bane of my fucking existence, the Mysterious Figure, that's when the game got really fucking unfair. Because Vanitas' Lingering Spirit he was hard, but there were certain things in the game that you could really exploit, you know, to kill him easily enough. Because these bosses make every other boss in the fucking game a complete joke. The uber difficulty on these bosses and trying to defeat them pretty much destroys everything else you've pretty much encountered in the game, maybe minus, you know, some of the bosses, you know, you fight in the Colosseum, or the Astral Colosseum, or I forget the name of it. But, as I said before, you know, at least with Vanitas' Lingering Spirit, you know, you kind of have a bigger play field, and there are things in the environment that you can use to kind of exploit, like in the area where you fight Vanitas' Lingering Spirit, you know, there's giant boulders, you know, at each end of the battlefield. And you can actually hide between those boulders and actually use this move that you throw your Keyblade, and the Keyblade will actually go through the boulders, and you can keep hitting Vanitas all the time without any difficulty. And eventually, you know, he'll come around the boulders, but then you literally go to the other side, and then you keep throwing your Keyblade. Sorry, keep using the move in which you throw your Keyblade to slowly keep doing damage on him. and then eventually you'll kill him if you use that technique. And that was a very easily exploitable technique to actually kill him, because you couldn't really melee fight the boss, because he would just destroy you really quick. So it took me a few tries, you know, to figure that out, and I eventually got his Keyblade, and then I got to the mysterious figure. Oh, Jesus. I have played so many games, and I have fought so many difficult bosses out of all my time being a gamer. But no boss has given me as much frustration as that fucking boss. That boss almost made me want to break my PSP in half. Now, I have never ever been that type of gamer that has ever broken a controller or broken a video game system that I've ever because I've gotten really frustrated with it. And, but the one word I can use to describe the mysterious figure is unfair and broken. This guy can literally massacre you in 2 hits. Easy. And he has some of the cheapest moves I've ever seen in any action-based RPG that I've ever seen in my entire life. And this is a boss that I have spent several months trying to beat, to no avail whatsoever. When I had gotten to that point where I was trying to fill out the rest of my item list, weapon lists, try to get everything in the game, and literally the last thing I had to do was a few more fights in the Colosseum and the mysterious figure. And there used to be days in which, you know, I just used to sit lie down on my bed and just play against the mysterious figure for a few hours, and I could never beat him. I swear to God, I must have fought him maybe anywhere between 300 to 500 times, and I lost every time. Because when it came to that fight, I didn't really know of a way to exploit him, and every guide and every video I looked up, and you know, there wasn't really anything you could do. You know, sure, it involved a little bit of skill, but it involved a hell of a lot of luck as well. And I tried fighting him with all 3 characters, you know, Ventus, Aqua, and Terra, and none of them really made that much of a difference. You know, I seemed to do better against them, you know, using Ventus, but I thought that I only had to unlock all the Keyblades once. So I decided to spend all my time fighting him using Ventus. And I really thought that once I beat him once, I never have to do it again. I get his Keyblade and everything gets filled out, and I never have to fight him again. And there were just so many moves that the mysterious figure had that were just so incredibly cheap. You know, you could easily block his melee attacks, you know, you could easily dodge his X strike, but he used to have these 2 moves that just killed me all the time. There was one move where he shot off, you know, a couple of, I guess, black energy balls, and then these laser beams come out of it. But you got to be really quick and just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling to actually dodge it, because if one of them hits you, you're down to critical. If another one hits you, you're dead. And I got used to avoiding that. But there was another move that he used to do in which if you were close to him and he jumped up in the sky, then he'd throw this kind of like harpoon or kind of lance or line at you. And then if it hits you, it puts you in critical and drags you up into the sky, and then he hits you again and you're dead. That was pretty much his kill move. And I used to get caught by that all the time because I was so paranoid to get too close to him, because if he pulled that move, because the only way I knew you could avoid it is if you kept your distance away from him. So it was really hard to know when you could start to get close to him or when you had to stay far away from him. And no matter what moves I used, no matter what I tried, you know, nothing worked. You know, sometimes I got a little bit lucky and got his life down halfway, but he just killed me. And there were a few times that I got him down to 1 full bar of just life left. But to make this fight even worse is that if you think you're making some good progress against him, I think when you get 2/3 of his life down, or maybe over half of his life, he goes invisible. And then it's just a matter that you just got to keep rolling. You just got to keep moving. You just got to just keep getting far away from him, because you know he's invisible, so you can't see him unless when he starts to attack you. So you know, to try to get into a melee fight with him is just almost suicide. And then so you just had to use, you know, any spells or any moves in which that cause your Keyblade to have like an element attached to it, and just pray to God you actually hit him and did some damage to him. Because it's, as I said before, you know, fighting a boss bad enough when he's visible is tough. Imagine when the fucker is invisible. And then it just adds a level of fucking frustration like you wouldn't believe. And then I just got sick and tired of it. I just couldn't fucking do it. So I started looking up any technique I could use, anything I could, like, any kind of cheap method I could use to actually do some damage to him, or actually kill him quick. And there wasn't really much, you know, from the research that I did do. You know, I remember there was a move that Ventus could do in which you combine 2 ice cream flavors, and then you ride your Keyblade, and then it crashes into the ground, and it has a good chance of hitting him and taking a lot of life from him. But it didn't work, and even when it did work, it would never kill him. It might knock him down over half of his life off, but then he'd just go invisible and just kill me. This boss caused me so much frustration, and even to this day, this is the most difficult boss fight that I ever fought in my entire life. And I used to feel like that I could never make any progress whatsoever. You know, there were nights in which I used to spend 2 to 3 hours a night trying to fight that boss and just losing every time. There's even one memory I have, and you're going to find this really hilarious. But back before, I think a month before I had to head back to Alberta in May of 2011, I remember I had to bring my our vehicle down to Canadian Tire to get the tires changed over. I think we had to take the winter tires off and put the summer tires on. And so when I dropped the car off, I took my PSP with me, because I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna run into the bad habit of, like, trying to get a ride home and then having to come back in the evening and, you know, pick up the car. I'm just gonna sit in the waiting room. Should only be a couple of hours. It wasn't. So when I dropped the car off 9 o'clock in the morning, and they said, well, do you want to ride home, or do you have somebody that'll pick you up? And I said, no, I'll just sit in the waiting room. And he said, you know, it's going to be a while. And I said, no, it's okay. I just got my video game there. I'll just play that. So pretty much from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, for a total of like 7 to 8 hours, you know, minus going out for lunch and that kind of thing, I sat there trying to beat the mysterious figure with Ventus. And in those 8 hours, do you think I beat him? No. 8 hours gone to waste just trying to fight that fucking boss, and he just kept killing me and killing me and killing me, and when he killed me like 10 to 15 times straight, I had to just put the PSP down, and I just had to take a break, or else I was just getting too frustrated. So eventually I did beat him, because that game is completed and it is retired for good. So how did I beat him? Well, I actually beat him when I left to go back to Alberta. I had to spend. I flew to Montreal, and I had to spend the entire day in Montreal, because I guess flights to Fort Mac were really hard to get at that time. And you know, I wasn't really gonna see the city. I was only there for half a day, and I had to fly out the next morning. So I just said, you know, I'm just gonna sit in a hotel bed and just keep playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And eventually, using that ice cream move, I finally killed him with Ventus. And I breathed a sigh of relief. And I said, I never have to fight that fucker ever again. Ever. And then I got his Keyblade, and I seen that Ventus's list was literally almost at 100%. I had a few more fights in the actual Coliseum left to do. So then I really thought I was finished with the game. So I checked Aqua's and Terra's game file to see if the Keyblade got unlocked there. And it wasn't. In order to consider the game fully complete, you have to get everything on each playthrough. That means you have to get every item, every Keyblade on each playthrough. So that meant I had to beat the mysterious figure with Terra, and I had to beat the mysterious figure with Aqua. I almost fucking cried, because I said, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to beat that boss with those two. I said, there's no fucking way. Because I tried it. I tried it before. Terra, I could not even get anything with Terra, because Terra doesn't have a roll or a cartwheel. He has a dash. And that laser beam black energy ball move, he sucks against that, because you have to keep yourself rolling, you have to keep yourself moving, but every time Terra dashes, he pauses for a second, and then that's enough time for the mysterious figure to send that move at you and kill you immediately. And I said, there's no fucking way. But I am a stubborn person. I said, you know, people have fucking done this. Why can't I do this? So, strangely enough, you know, because as you keep playing the boss more and more, you get to pick up on his pattern, his techniques, and stuff like that. And even though Terra didn't have much in the way of movement, his attack power was a lot higher than both Ventus and Aqua. So I tried to cater his moves around that. And I probably got killed by him maybe 20 or 30 times that evening. But that same night in which I was sitting in that Montreal hotel room, I actually beat him that night. And I was just amazed, like, I'm finally getting used to this boss fight. You know, I didn't have to spend 300 to 350 times trying to fight him. And then I said Aqua. And unfortunately with Aqua, you know, she kind of has the mobility like Ventus does, but she doesn't have the attack power like Terra does. You know, she has a cartwheel, which is a little easier to avoid that black energy ball laser move. But her strength is magical power. So I basically set up her moves, you know, in which I could attach magic to her weapon and use those moves to get the mysterious figure. Now, thankfully, well, not thankfully, but I couldn't beat him that night using Aqua, but I was still pretty tenacious about actually beating him. So when I took the flight from Montreal back to Fort McMurray, maybe after another 20 to 30 times trying him, I actually finally beat him with Aqua. And I got all the Keyblades, and then a couple of more days afterwards I finally finished up the rest of the Coliseum fights. Basically did everything in the game, finished the final boss on each respective playthrough, and then it shows you a clear time and if you have 100% completion, and I did. And then I fought the epilogue one last time and beat the final boss of the game, and that's it. The game is retired. I never have to play it again. I am sure the mysterious figure maybe wouldn't have been as bad if I had played the game on normal mode, you know, instead of pride mode, but I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to completing video games. You know, I don't like to miss anything. And you have to understand, like, the amount of frustration that mysterious figure boss fight gave me. I know a few of my viewers have played a lot of the Kingdom Hearts games, and I'm sure fighting that boss, it was probably frustrating to you as it was for me. But to this day, there has been no video game boss that has given me as much frustration as what that boss has. And I've looked up a lot of top 10 lists with regards to some of the toughest RPG boss fights, and there's a lot of boss fights I see that I never had a chance to play against. So I'm sure as I play more games, I'm sure something will probably dethrone the mysterious figure. But to this day, he remains the most difficult boss I've ever had the displeasure of actually fighting. But one thing I can assure you, it was pretty fucking good to finally beat him with all 3 characters. And this game is retired, so I never have to fight him and go through that mess ever again. But it's completed, it's done for, and it is retired to the shelf, and that's exactly where it stays. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that little story of another frustrating moment that comes with completing video games, because beating the mysterious figure was a struggle all in itself. And it probably makes for one amusing story. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the story, and as always, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best. Later.